If you would like to know how to have a natural, low-risk pregnancy and birth, you clicked on the right video. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Take Control of Your Health. I'm Dr. Corey Stern, and if this is your first time watching, I want to extend a warm welcome to you, and please check out all the videos on my channel because all of them are here to help you be as healthy as possible. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for all of your support, for your comments and suggestions. And please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the like button if you like the content. And most importantly, please share this video with anyone you think would benefit from seeing it. So today's topic is natural low-risk pregnancy and birth. And I'm so excited to have one of my colleagues who is an expert in this topic. This is Nichole Kuechle. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, and she has a lot of certifications. So she worked for many years as a birth and postpartum doula and a natural childbirth educator. And she also has expertise as a craniosacral practitioner. And right now, she's also providing nutrition services for her patients, and she has a multifaceted approach to transforming the health of families for over 20 years. She's also founded the Happy Healthy Kids and Empower Your Pregnancy Telesummit, so we'll put links to that in the description for this video, and the My Healthy Beginning Lifestyle magazine. Her first book, Adapt, Building Your Resilience and the Ability to Thrive, is due to be published in June. So that's very exciting. Mm-hmm. And she has a private practice in Minneapolis. So for anybody that's watching that's local, we'll have a way for you reaching out to her. So welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy practice. It was very hard for us to schedule this. So I really appreciate you being here with me today. So let me start off by asking you a question. In your experience working with women who are pregnant or planning to become pregnant, what is their number one concern?
Ultimately, a healthy baby, which, as you know, being a practitioner is sort of has relative meaning to kind of where people are in the spectrum of handling their health, of taking control of their health. And I think the one thing that's missing is once they decide I'm going to become pregnant or I am pregnant, it sort of becomes about baby, but they don't necessarily think about themselves. So like there's just this one shot goal at the end, and that is to have a healthy baby. And we're over here going, but wait, there's you, right? So managing the health of mom is important. And then it's like an afterthought, right? They're like, oh, right. I mean, of course I have to take care of myself, but that end result becomes healthy baby or getting pregnant, right? Getting pregnant. And then once pregnant, healthy baby.
Right. And as we know, the rate of infertility, at least in the United States, is quite high. Mm-hmm. So becoming pregnant is a huge concern for many of the young women that I see. Mm-hmm. How about you? Do you run into that as well?
We do. And I get really excited, when we want to talk statistics, for a minute, which is that all but one woman has achieved pregnancy by working with us. And, typically that happens within a 6 to 9 month time frame. And the only woman that didn't work for moved on before she completed her program. And I'm confident if given enough time that would have happened for her. Many of these women walk through the door kind of with that label, the ticker, what is that? The ticker strip going across their forehead of like, I'm infertile. Someone told me that, or that someone ran a test, or I've tried in vitro, or whatever the case may be. And but in the majority of those cases, nobody has addressed the conversation of toxicity. So to us, it's a no-brainer, and to be mindful of that conversation and where that mom or that couple is in the learning process about our environment, about their microbiome, their emotional well-being. It's a big conversation and takes a lot of education and even more unlearning than it does learning. It's stripping away all of the things that they think they know and all of the marketing propaganda that they've grown up with, and every bit of unsolicited advice they've received from every expert in their life who have done things pregnancy related, right? Getting them over that hump of what is my game plan for me, for my body, for creating life, versus that general blanket of recommendation for, say, every female who's looking to get pregnant.
Right, exactly. One of the things that you and I do that's so unique is that we are able to very specifically and individually determine what each body needs, what it's missing, what obstacles it has that need to be removed. So would you say in your experience that toxins are the number one cause of fertility that you've been running into?
I would. It just depends on what that toxicity is,
Mm-hmm.
and I get, I really get to speak from personal experience and can get, right down there with those moms. We lost 5 of our 8 babies, and it wasn't until the 5th one where I had that aha moment of like, wait a minute, actually, we can actually find out, likely what's causing this. And so I drove 45 minutes across the city to see Dr. Furlong and jump on his table and go, test my uterus, what's going on in there, right? To discover that metals, too much of one particular metal, how is the baby house supposed to comfortably, grow a human and develop a human? So it is interesting too, because yes, toxicity, and in our world, one of the things that our goal is not just to work with mom, but also to work with that partner, because it takes 2 to tango. You've got 2 conversations going on here. And what I find in our neck of the woods is it's really tricky to get that partner on board. And so you've got mom kind of walking a path, and you can tell she feels really alone. And you can tell that she wants for that partner to be on board. And typically that partner comes on board for food and, like detoxing a household. But it's like, oh my gosh, if we could just speak to the toxicity level in the partner's body as well, this is going to come about more quickly. And we find resistance there, unfortunately. But it does happen faster if both on board.
I have found that men are very defensive about the state of their sperm. Yes, it's true. It's a
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not all men. So any men listening to this, don't get upset. But yes, mm-hmm. it's a thing. So yes. So in my world, I do find the same thing, and I call the uterus the baby house as well. Mm-hmm. And you have to start before you're ready to get pregnant. You have to start the cleanup mm-hmm. of the baby house. And just, I recommend that you do see a practitioner like Nichole or I, but if you can't, we do recommend that you, number one, that you do a detox, and number two, that you start to identify toxins that you're being exposed to on a regular basis. And this is something that we talk about a lot on this channel. So I've mm-hmm. talked about toxicity as far as food and additives to foods. And we've mentioned heavy metals and different chemicals. So a lot of these toxins are actually hormone disruptors mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. or hormone imbalancers. There is, just talking about male fertility right now, there is a huge problem with men becoming estrogen dominant. Mm-hmm. And how does that happen? And it's primarily coming from plastic, from the chemical, which is abbreviated BPA in plastic. Mm-hmm. Plastic exposure, and it's happening from everywhere. So first of all, definitely do not microwave anything in plastic. Don't microwave. But if you're going to still be microwaving, don't microwave in plastic, because then you're eating the BPA. But sadly, you know, our water is contaminated with BPA, our ground soil. So it is important to begin the process of trying to identify and eliminate toxins that you may be being exposed to improve your fertility. And I think the other part of fertility is eating foods that promote fertility. Should we talk about what those are?
We can do that. One of the things that I love about what we do is being able to identify foods that are not so helpful for that particular female's body. And even if partner is on board, that's a conversation, you know, that can be had as well. But one of the ways that I love to use the kits that we have isn't to just create that list of no's, because, you know, that's a bit diminishing. And sometimes that list can get quite large when people are just starting to step into this world for the first time. And so I really like to talk more about, here are the foods, here are the nutrient dense foods that we can eat more of. And then that helps to naturally crowd out some of the things they shouldn't be having, that they shouldn't be having. And one thing too, that I wanted to point out when you were talking about plastics, you know, we literally were having this conversation in our kitchen last night with two teenagers. And one of them said, you know, like it was a soy conversation, but it led us into the endocrine disruptor conversation and led us into plastics. And if you just think for a second, how many things you touch from the moment you get up until you go to bed at night that are contained, you know, say in plastic, your shampoo bottles, your makeup containers, your soap dispensers, your, you know, lotions, your potions. I mean, just everything is encased in plastic. And then if you, I don't drink tap water. So what do? You go buy Aquafina in plastic water bottles. So, or I play sports, and so you have the squeeze water bottles, those are plastic. I mean, it is everywhere. So it's obvious, and yet it's the thing that's right under your nose if you're not paying attention. It can be an easy thing to change out, but then it's also a bit daunting, like, oh my gosh, which one do I start with first? So one of the things I talk to people about is like the environmental working group. That app is so fun because it allows them to kind of play with starting to decrease the toxicity in the product.
So I don't forget to put a link to it in the description. It's ewg.org, isn't it?
.org. Yeah. And I thought that their app, I thought it used to be called Skin Deep, but I actually don't think that's the name for it anymore.
They changed the name of it. I'll put it in the link. Yeah. So this is an app that you can download, and it gives you the toxicity level of different products. And I think you can even scan a barcode on the app and get the information.
I mean, I tell people, like, if they're starting to walk this talk, you know, with adolescents in their household, have them take their smartphone into the bathroom and just start scanning the rows of shampoos and let them sort of discover for themselves. That's part of the unlearning process. So a mom who's looking at, you know, getting pregnant and doesn't know where to start, that it does become kind of a fun activity to learn and uncover those truths for themselves.
Yeah. People are in denial, and they get very attached to their products, and they don't want to change them. So one of the things I recommend that you do is, if you are using toxic products right now, is you just change them one at a time. You just, when you run out of this one, replace it with something cleaner. And if anybody needs help with that, I can make recommendations. Just put a comment on the video, and I can help you with recommendations for better quality products, because I've tried a lot of them, and I use organic shampoo, and look how shiny my hair is.
So shiny.
Yeah, they're really good. So getting back to nutrition for fertility, one of the things that people, and I've talked about this on my channel, one of the things that people don't really understand fully is how important fat is, consuming fat in their diet. And this is especially true for fertility. And in tribal cultures that were not, like, before they were touched by modern civilization, most cultures before modern civilization groom them, we're eating a very high fat diet.
Mm-hmm.
And fats that you don't normally associate with being healthy. So when we talk about healthy fats, people think of things like avocado and nuts and olive oil. But the truth is that for fertility, healthy fats are actually animal fats.
Mm-hmm.
And animal fats like goose fat and duck fat. They have nutrients in them that most of us are not getting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when I talk about these animal fats, the quality of the animal and what the animal is eating is also very important.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be clean quality fats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is one of the more important things, and a missing link for many women trying to get pregnant is that they are fat deficient.
Mm-hmm. If you think about it, you know, we all grew up in this generation of this low to no fat, right? Industrialization hit, and oh my gosh, fat is bad for you. And so, you know, I would think nothing about eating a pound of licorice, even though it's loaded with food dye and wheat flour and crappy sugar. But you know, it was low fat. So who cares? Well, if you look at the pictures of me at that time, what you will see is a nutritionally deficient, puffy, bloated, you know, adolescent, you know, teen into early 20s. And those are the childbearing years, right? So it's not like that's what we are necessarily condoning, is to be childbearing during those years, but those are formative years in terms of preparing our body for, you know, carrying out and developing another human. And unfortunately, that is a tricky time too, where body image is a conversation, and kids or adolescents and young teens are out and about, right? They're not kind of like homesteading. They're not, you know, what am I making for dinner tonight? So when we set up our homes in educating our young people on how to eat, when we do set them forth out into the world, then what they are more attracted to are foods that do nourish them. You know, lard, tallow, these things are important to be cooking with. And, you know, if we're talking about body care products, you can, you know, with tallow, you can make your own, you know, creams and lotions. And it's always fun to have an experience of like, well, we just ate, you know, what's considered nose to tail, and consumed all of the healthy fats along the way, the organ meats, the things that really do nourish our body from the inside out. And, you know, even if you're looking at whole fat dairy products, it's a very different conversation than going and grabbing a gallon of Kemp's skim milk off of, you know, your grocery counter. So that's doing nothing for you. And it is, you know, full of pests and antibiotics. And if you can find in your area, you know, raw whole milk, that is just a great baby maker.
Yes, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put a link to an organization whose job it is to help you find raw dairy in your area.
And we have too, Corey, I'm not sure if you do this in your office, but we in our office have built relationships, you know, over the 17 years that, you know, I've been parenting with farmers in our area or within a couple hours distance. So we do connect our families with, you know, grass-fed raised chicken, pork, beef. If they want whole milk, they can get it, right? Wild caught salmon, you know, there's a family who does that in Alaska and brings it here for us. So you want to connect into that community of good food because it is there. I think when we go to the store and we just buy what we're used to buying because it's what we grew up with, you know, we have to really think bigger than that. Again, that's the unlearning process. You know, things like butter get kind of a bad rap these days, right? And when you can find that beautiful yellow brick of grass-fed butter, what a great way to grow a baby. One of the things that we used to talk about in our childbirth education classes, so the conversation would come up, right? So we would teach these classes over the dinner hour. And I would say, bring your food, eat, make yourself comfortable. We're going to educate you. And I would usually have some sort of goodie that I've made with a recipe that's starting to introduce them to more whole foods and whole fats. And so there, you know, is a fast food joint not far away. And so, you know, that would show up, right? Like a McDonald's meal would show up. But by the third or fourth night, you could start to see the wheels turning and you could start to see people saying, well, wait a minute, like a stick of butter or a Big Mac? Like, which one do you want your saturated fat to come from? it's obvious to us that butter is the way to go with that to help to grow that baby brain. So when we talk about mamas growing big, fat, healthy, chunky babies with a nice layer of brown fat on them, right? Because they drop weight a little bit after they're born and you want that brown fat on them. You're not going to get there by eating fast food and high sugar laden and kind of rancid oil, like your vegetable oils. Like if we're talking about healthy fats, those are the things to avoid. What you end up with at the end then is maybe a bigger baby, but a mama who doesn't then have the stamina and endurance because the diet isn't high enough in protein and healthy fats to do the work to safely get this baby out. So if ice cream is what you're eating every night, that might be more of what you're running into. But if you're eating a diet healthy in the healthy fats, the organ meats, the grass-fed, antibiotic, hormone-free, right? This is where a connection to knowing who's growing your food is very important. If you can get that whole milk, or at least drink organic whole milk, making that shift from, skim or low fat, what you then have in the end is a big fat baby with a nice, pink, glowing, healthy mama who's got enough fat and protein, i.e. enough stamina and endurance to have a long labor or push this baby out. Truth be told, really, the healthier we are, the shorter the labors we have. So there's many, many incentives to learning about how to clean up, your world in terms of toxicity and clean up your food. It's just circling back to the environmental working group, another way that a mom to be could orient herself to a healthier way of eating and decrease toxicity is to use that app. I think every year, and maybe you know this to be different, so correct me if I'm wrong. I believe every year they update what they call their Clean 15 and their Dirty Dozen. Yes. So their Clean 15 is, especially if you're budget oriented and you're kind of new to how to clean up your food. And sometimes it is like we get pregnant and then we're like, I have to stop smoking and I have to stop drinking, and or you just have to raise the bar. You're just up leveling from wherever you are. So if you're suddenly looking at, well, how do I do my produce differently? And I always say produce is just a vessel for healthy fats, right? It's another way of what can we dredge through that good fat, that good oil, what can we sprinkle cinnamon on and get into our bodies? So following the list of the Clean 15, which means these are the items that are not organic in terms of produce, which are more safe and less pesticide oriented. And then you've got your Dirty Dozen, which are by all means avoid, the 12 items in this produce list and buy them organic if at all possible. So that's a helpful way to start looking. And I really believe in kind of gradiently moving people through this. So someone might be like, a farmer, I'm in the middle of the city. I don't know a farmer. So avenues to create those connections are, here in Minnesota, we have something called Minnesota Grown. So if you would, just go to the, internet and you're searching for, local food, New York, local food, Maine, local food, California, right? You just kind of want to use those search keywords and you'll start honing in. If you've got natural foods co-ops, that's a great place to start. If you do have a Whole Foods or a Earth Fare or Sprouts or something like that, and you're at the butcher counter, that's a great place to start a conversation about, hey, where do you guys source your meat? I wonder if I could go source direct, which is better for the farmer, better for you. And then you're raising kids who know where their food comes from. You grow healthier brains when you can start to orient yourself in regards to cleaner food.
It's one of the things that I do in my office. We do have an Amish farm co-op that patients join. But when I see virtual patients from all over the country, I've been pretty successful at helping people locate the best quality local food in their area. So here I am in the middle of New York City, and I have wonderful, clean farm food. So if I can get it, probably just about anyone, we can find it for anyone. So
the barriers aren't as big as it seems in the moment. Once you start looking, I think the, more of what I see is people are very quickly, with a warm embrace, captured by that whole foods based community. And it's exciting and it's so heartfelt. It's like the human condition. It's just so fun to connect over good food like that.
That is so true. I agree with you. And I love my farmer. He's just such a sweetheart, Farmer Daniel. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about, for anybody that may not know exactly what a doula does.
Mm-hmm. We can do that. My grandmother, who passed last year, still thinks I deliver babies, which is not what I do. So a birth doula, I'll just discern the difference between a birth doula and a midwife. And I think that will help to clear it up pretty quickly for people. So midwives, whether they're a home birth midwife, or a nurse midwife in a hospital setting, they are the ones to deliver the babies. They do the quote unquote medical side of it, if you can call catching a baby a medical, procedure. A birth doula provides more of that informational, physical, and emotional support, and not just during the labor and delivery. Yes, we are there for all of that, from the active labor time frame through a few hours post delivery. But it's really typically as early on in a pregnancy as a mom is ready to and willing to sign a contract with the birth doula to really support them. Phone conversations, emails. You have a go-to and you have a resource. I always say, as birth doulas, we get the silly questions. There's no dumb question. There's really no silly question. But oftentimes moms are left with the unsolicited advice of their community and their well-intentioned and well-meaning family and friends. And sometimes what they're looking for and seeking and kind of getting what I call like intuitive hits about don't always align with, what their immediate, what their immediate support system is comfortable with or knowledgeable about. And so a birth doula becomes a really great go-to resource for, I have this question, I've been thinking about this, and I wonder about this, and is that procedure necessary? And, what kind of C-section percentage rates am I looking for in a hospital? Should I even be asking that question? So your birth doula becomes this just incredible source. They're like your walking Rolodex for all things birth. So they will also, this role is so fun because we're able to meet mom right where she's at and support her from there. And then our job is also education. So I have met, plenty of moms who are planning a C-section. It's what they want to do. And if, it doesn't matter if that's my opinion about how this should go down. It's mom's opinion and what has her feel safe. And so we meet her right there. And then we educate her about, there is a more kind of natural based cesarean. There are different ways to promote breastfeeding with a cesarean. Some women feel that they have to go that route. So again, huge on education. I'll take moms and I'll say, like, I get your plan. I hear your plan. Are you willing to let me give you some educational documentaries, some resources, some articles, some local groups in your area that you can start to connect into? Rarely does a mom say no to any of that. And sometimes she changes her mind and sometimes she changes her plan. And that's just really fun and really exciting for her to see what feels comfortable to her. So birth doula is just a fantastic support. Emotionally, there are lots of changes that happen in a pregnancy. And the goal isn't to just support mom, but to support the couple or the family, depending on what the scenario is. My goal as a childbirth educator was to have partner as educated as possible so that if I happen to also be working with that family as a birth doula, I often thought like my most successful birth stories are when I kind of got to be in the corner, sort of not directing the process, but the partner would be look at me like, should I? And I should. And it's like, yeah, this is the part. Remember that hip squeeze? Go do that now. And then they're the hero, right? And then they've got this incredible way to know each other more intimately and connect more deeply. And then that's also the physical aspect. So we can provide that physical support to mom during the labor and delivery, but also we're educated enough to know how to educate the partner in the role, or maybe her best friend is there, or her sister or her mom, and she's comfortable with that hands-on experience. We're able to talk positioning for more comfortable labor. We're able to talk positioning if baby's in the wrong position. Where can we put mom to best support her? And how do we advocate for her needs with her team, whether it is a medical team or whether this is a home birth or a birth center team? And the conversation is a little softer and more relaxed and more in favor of mom. We definitely know how to support the advocating for what their needs are and for their desires for baby and the health in the delivery aspect as well.
I'm guessing there is a resource that we can put in the description where if somebody wants to find a local doula, there's a directory, something like that.
I mean, the easiest one is DONA, DONA, Doulas of North America. And I also believe that is .org. So you can go down by state and maybe even by zip code to find a birth doula that's certified in your neck of the woods, and far, far, far more than there were 20 years ago.
Yeah, great. Okay. Last question. Do you have any recommendations aside from eating a really healthy diet, which you already mentioned? The healthier the pregnant woman is, the shorter the birth. Which I just want to say that I didn't know any of this when I was pregnant. I gave birth when I was 23 years old before I was a practitioner, and I ate terribly, and my labor was 34 hours, and it wasn't good. It was very difficult. So wish I knew then what I knew now, but anyway, I'm post childbirth age, so all I can do is help other women at this point. But do you have any specific recommendations for pregnant women to have the easiest birth possible?
So I'm so glad you shared the length of your labor, because obviously we can't ever make guarantees. But here's one thing that I do know. You know, I was a DONA certified doula. I'm no longer certified. And when a family is willing to be educated, right, in positioning, in pain management techniques, in how long to stay home. I mean, of course, that becomes mom's comfort level, but why to stay home and labor at home as long as possible, what to be eating, how to have supportive sleep, chiropractic care, super great, craniosacral therapy, super great. The more space mom has, you know, structurally, that's in the soft tissue and in actual vertebral structure and skeleton of the body, and think of where that baby is and how much space that baby can take up, the more space that baby has. So that's always really, you know, more comfortable mom is, more comfortable baby is. The more well-fed mom is, the more well-fed baby is, right? The more mom's developing herself in the pregnancy, the more baby develops accordingly. Chiropractic care, movement, nutrition. Obviously, both of us practice nutrition response testing. It's such a great way to get these nutrients in that we're not getting through our food these days, and to get on some key points and stressors that are going on, you know, with mom and baby in utero. And one thing to keep in mind is when you're kind of doing all of these things, you know, I always say like 5 irons in the fire, you know, you're managing sleep, supplementation, exercise, movement, and food, and you're doing all of those things. The result is often a shorter labor. So the average labor for a natural birthing mom who's done some natural birth education with she and her partner and has put these things into practice is 12 to 18 hours for a first time mom, which the average is more of what you're saying, kind of that 24 to 36 hours. So I wouldn't just rely on, I'm hoping I get lucky, right? But the more you have supported yourself, you know, typically better outcome is going to be. And even if you are thrown a curveball, because life happens, you're much more, that adaptability is there. You are much more educated. We have discussed at length plan A, B, and C. So if that curveball comes to that natural birth, or that curveball comes to the home birth that we are at, and we have to move to plan B, it's not a surprise entirely. We've already decided some things about how we might want that to go, and the decisions that then have to come and who's making them at that point, you know. So you're just so much more supported. The more resources we have, we feel more content, we feel more at home, we have more peace of mind. And we're able to kind of, you know, we're women, we like to make lists, right? We have all the lists of things. And so we can share that list with our birth team and with our birth partner. So that in the event that, you know, we need to be focused over here for a minute and kind of can't participate, our wishes and our desires, you know, are right there for us. I think this is a really important thing to keep in mind.
Yes, and I want to end by saying that Nichole and I both make the way I like to put it, we make really healthy babies. And, you know, you can see the difference between the babies that we make and babies that you see in the general public. So our babies hit their milestones earlier. They're just, you know, healthier. My moms usually have fairly easy births. So it's just it's a wonderful feeling. It's my favorite thing to do, is to grow healthy babies and know that we're contributing to the next generation and the generation after that, because we're actually making the world a better place by helping to produce healthy babies. So if you are listening, you're in the US and you would like to see a practitioner like one of us, just reach out to me. I will find you the closest person that does what we do. And if you would like a virtual consult with either one of us, we both also do virtual consultations. So again, just put a note in the comments. I also put my link to my website and my email for you to reach out. So again, thank you so much, Nichole. This has been amazing. I wanted to cover so much more, but we've run out of time. So maybe we'll have you back again to talk more about this topic. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. And I will be seeing you all again soon. Stay healthy until then. And thank you for watching.